no, it's pretty cool. I mean, I got a fantastic view. You've been in the New England building.
Yes.
There's one window.
That window's bigger than the window in the New England building. That right there, you get more vitamin D at UW than you do in Foxborough.
Yeah, so I'll give it to you real quick here.
Yeah, let me see.
Wow.
Oh my God, dude,
Yep.
that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Football.
I'm committing.
Yeah.
Soft verbal.
Yeah, you don't even need to give a recruiting pitch here, Coach, because you show that view out your window and dudes are just signing up. They're going to get in a line to come play football for you.
Yeah, so, I mean, the first time I got here, like Chris, you know, in the New England building, I'm trying to interview and talk to people, and I'm just got a little ADD. We all do.
Yeah.
I'm just staring out the window like, holy shit. My bad. What was your question?
Joining us now, because we got a big group in here, is Steve Belichick, one of the dudes that kept me sane for a year in New England when I'm trying to find my way as a vet, a new guy, the whole thing, whether it was Ninko, whether it was Steve, Slate, all these guys, man, just so important to me when I was in New England. And now Steve has a new gig up in the Pacific Northwest. He is the defensive coordinator of the Washington Huskies. Give it up for Steve, folks. It's good to have you on the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be on here. What has it been, a couple years since my last podcast appearance?
Yeah, dude.
Haven't got any requests since. So, here we go. If anybody wants me, I got time.
Well, Steve, I didn't want to hit you up last year, like with the way things are going, to be like, yeah, you want to come on the podcast? Like nobody wants to come on the podcast during a year like that.
Yeah, no. We lost a tough one, and moving on to lose again. But yeah, it was a tough year.
Yeah.
Tough year.
Well, no, but this, I mean, like, listen, it was a really tough year. Obviously, we can talk a lot about New England and everything, but I think the coolest thing is you going out and doing something that's like totally off the bingo card for me. Like when we talked, when your pops left, you know, we were kind of texting and I was like, man, I hope you do something that's just like different, man, you know, like, and I did not have college football on my bingo card. I thought you might coach in the league for some other team. Like, what went into that process for you? What was the thought process, and were you close to doing other stuff?
There was a couple things going on, whether it was stay in New England or, you know, bounce around a little bit. But I worked with Jed Fish, the head coach here. He was there in 2020, coaching the quarterbacks, and we kind of got to know each other. And then he left and went to Arizona, so we kept in touch, and he gave me the opportunity, and just running with it.
That's awesome. Your first impressions of Seattle and UW?
Well, I've been here for maybe a week, so I'm going from the hotel and back to the facility and then back to the hotel. Tried to get a house or about to rent a house, so that was about the extent of my travels outside of that commute. But no, it's pretty cool. I mean, I got a fantastic view. You've been in the New England building.
Yes.
There's one window.
That window's bigger than the window in the New England building. That right there, you get more vitamin D at UW than you do in Foxborough.
Yeah, so I'll give it to you real quick here.
Yeah, let me see.
Wow.
Oh my God, dude,
Yep.
that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Football.
I'm committing.
Yeah.
Soft verbal.
Yeah, you don't even need to give a recruiting pitch here, Coach, because you show that view out your window and dudes are just signing up. They're going to get in a line to come play football for you.
Yeah, so, I mean, the first time I got here, like Chris, you know, in the New England building, I'm trying to interview and talk to people, and I'm just got a little ADD. We all do.
Yeah.
I'm just staring out the window like, holy shit. My bad. What was your question?
Yeah.
It's changed a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love looking at Toby Keith's and Patriot Place, but like that backdrop's pretty amazing. With the Pats, man, you know, people always assume that, you know, people from the Patriots tree, they all act the same, they all coach the same, but I've found that to be a little bit different. I think there's some guys that have gone off on their own and tried to be Bill or tried to be some other coach that was there and try to emulate somebody a little too much. But I feel like there's been a lot of guys who have done their own thing. You know, Dable's a little bit different, Vrabel's different. had success. I think you're going to put your twist on whatever the Patriot way was to you. What do you keep from New England, and what do you leave behind as you embark on this journey, like culturally?
Yeah, I would say I'm different than those guys. I grew up, with my dad, and I've always we talked about this last time, being the son, you're always kind of in the shadow. And probably when he left Cleveland, I was like 8. And so ever since then, I've tried to not be him.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to just be, I want to be Steve. I don't want to be Bill. People say that we sound the same. So, that's one thing I can't really change. But other than that, I want to do, especially with success and Zed, I want to do that, but I don't want to, I'll take a couple things, but I want to be myself.
Yeah.
I want to be real with the guys and the relationships I build, and not, try and be somebody I'm not. And that was my mom's advice is, especially with the social media, people try and be someone they're not and have a tough time being themselves. So I just try and be myself, and love it or hate it, that's who I am.
I think that's going to be plenty, man. I think it's funny to talk about not wanting to be your dad. Like me and Kyle both want to be our dad, like in that we want to be successful. Obviously, you want to be your dad, and that you want to be, but we don't want to be dad. You know what I mean? Kyle a little bit more. He was 75.
I sprinted from it as a kid, Steve. I mean, I went and played baseball for Christ's sake because I wanted to run from it so bad, and I got burned. But here we are back in football. You can only run from your bloodline for so long.
But look at us not being like dad. We have a podcast. He does a little TV show. But the question is, man, has that made it – are you maybe the perfect Patriot tree guy because you're actually not trying to be your dad? Everybody else was trying to be your dad, and you're like the perfect Patriot tree guy.
Yeah, I mean, I try and build my own tree, but I would say, you joke Kyle, but at least he went to offense. So you're maybe a little closer to dad than he is. At least the flip side of the ball. We're defensive guys, but you may be different than him. But the tree and stuff like that. I mean, those are always big topics outside. But for me, it's like I'm just Steve, and so.
How about the big difference in, like, I think what was so strong about New England was the culture and like the continuity because of things, that you guys did as a coaching staff and all that stuff. Like, now you weren't the same every year. One thing I admired about you guys is you always changed to meet the demands of the day, or the season or the game. So that's a bit of a misnomer that the Patriot way is like, it's one thing all the time. But I guess for me, the culture is harder to install in college because of the fluidity of where players are going, because of the NIL age, the whole thing. You're not going to have some of the mechanisms that y'all had to build, or any NFL coach have, to build a program over time. Like, how do you approach team building, roster building? I know it's early for you, but what are the biggest differences and impediments?
So, this better than pretty much anybody. Like, unless you're a rookie or a free agent, like, the system, or you kind of know what the grind is like. But then when those new guys come in, you fall into line. When I came out here, I knew 2 people. I knew Jed Fish, and I knew Vinny Sinceri, who came from New England with me.
Yeah.
Vinny Bombats.
Yeah, tell him I said what's up. Tell him I said what's up, Paisan.
So when I came out here, like, kind of my first message was like, other than maybe a gift that's happened before, you guys don't know me, I don't know you. So, like, let's get to know each other. And I don't judge people until I get to know them. I'll treat you like a man until you prove me wrong. So that was kind of my message initially, was, starting to build a foundation, which was, it's been difficult in terms of, I gotta rethink this. I got to start back from ground zero, rather than, like, when you came in, it was like you start halfway through the process, and it's like catch up fast.
Yep.
So trying to build what we want to do out here, and then seeing with Jed being a new head coach at UW, it's kind of been a transition, but embrace the challenge and let's go win some games.
I'm not going to ask you specifically what your scheme is, because I know there's probably some gamesmanship with that, where you're like, we're not going to say anything for a little bit, but I'm sure there are some complexities. I can remember in New England, like, that is a complex scheme. And, like, I was getting calls and checks, like, with my hand not in the dirt, like leaving the dirt. Like high would be, you know, there'd be a third layer to every call. Do you feel like it's going to be easier or harder to install a complex scheme for young kids as opposed to professionals who spend all day doing it? It's their job. Now, I guess now it's more like a business, but what do you think of the differences in, like, you know, expectations?
I would say, you know, we like to teach the big picture. Sometimes guys look through the straw and, you know, they don't see everything that's going on. So I'm trying to teach the big concepts and then the tools and the stuff that you can use with those calls, which we'll see how far that goes. At the end of the day, it starts with fundamentals. So, you know, we got to come out here, teach the fundamentals, but the scheme will go as we take it. I'm not that type of coach that's gonna, you know, do stuff that's not fundamentally sound or what the players can't handle. I'll do what we can handle. And, you know, I'm a little bit different than some of the other guys there before. Like, if we need to run 4 calls to win a game, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
If we need to run 20 calls to win a game, then we'll do it that way. But we're still evaluating the players and skill sets of those guys, and we'll take it from there.
I don't know where we are in the recruiting calendar, but you just left a roster where there were a couple of guys older than you. Have you had to get on the phone with a 15-year-old kid saying, "Hey, it's Steve Belichick. Hope to have you in the purple and gold one day"?
Yes, I FaceTimed my first high schooler this past week, which was
That's
you know,
good.
a little bit different. We didn't have, yeah, exactly. We didn't have FaceTime back when I was in high school. I'm not trying to sound like an old head.
No,
but,
I didn't mean it.
yeah, but we didn't have FaceTime, and there was no reason for me to FaceTime a high school kid. And then it's like, you know, recruiting. It's like FaceTime him, FaceTime them, and that was a little bit different adjustment, but you know, it's part of the business, and I learn on the fly, as we used to say in New England, adapt or die.
Adapt or die, indeed. Steve, my buddy Nate's got a question for you.
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking off that, how has it been navigating the whole NIL and learning the portal from a coach's standpoint?
It's been interesting. I'm trying to learn that stuff. They got a bunch of those little like NIL versus NLI, and I didn't know what that meant, so I'm looking at the guys next to me. That's national letter.
Okay, good. I'm glad I remember that. Yeah.
We started PRPs yesterday, which is player-run practices.
Ooh.
So I'm learning all these little things and stuff like that. But every day I'm trying to learn and digest it. I'm still trying to learn, you know, everything that's going on around here. I had my second academic meeting this morning.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Guys, which I definitely would have been on the hot list.
Yeah.
They call it, which he needs to pick it up to be eligible. So all this stuff's new, but at the same time, you know, get these guys so that we can get out there and play ball.
All right. Can you recruit me and Kyle, speaking of recruiting, to UW? I'm 18 years old. I'm Chris Long. I play defensive end. I don't know if I'm a scheme fit because I don't know what your scheme is, Coach. And Kyle is 6'9", 330 pounds. He's 13 and he has a mustache. You're gonna FaceTime him later tonight. Like, what's gonna be the pitch for both of us to come to UW?
Well, you're 18, he's 13, but you guys are both have, you know, let's say potential, which I don't love that word, but potential. Chris, we're 15 minutes from Seattle. There's things going on in Seattle you may be interested in. I don't know if I could pitch that yet.
Chris is like,
No.
I'm in.
I don't think we're quite there yet.
Kyle may get a couple years older. Maybe you can go with Chris, or if Chris has some connections, maybe it's 2 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, not like that.
This is
but-
kind of how it went.
I liked
actually,
how he was
Steve,
like,
because
Kyle,
Chris
you
and
may
I-
want to get a little older, but
Chris
we'll
and
take you
I
right
are-
now.
Chris and I are 4 years apart, so this is kind of how it went in high school for me because like Andy Heck recruited Chris to play at UVA. Andy Heck went elsewhere. He went to the National Football
Jacksonville.
League to go coach.
No,
and then I was 15 and I was still getting to know Chris's connections at UVA. But the question I have for you is, Dad taught me to play offensive line because he knew what defensive linemen didn't like. With all the years you spent on this side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball, getting to coach with guys like Dante Scarnecchia and all the legends that were on that offensive staff, if you woke up tomorrow, gun to your head, and they said you have to coach a new position, Which one would you feel most comfortable coaching and why?
It's a great question.
He's full of
Well, in college, going through these academic meetings, let's say certain groups are higher management than others.
Defensive
I'm not a
ends?
huge
The receivers.
academics guy, but if you don't do academic stuff right, then you're not out on the field. So it's very important. I'm not saying that, but man, gun to my head. I mean, tight ends are kind of like linebackers, where you're coaching the run in the pass game, which I enjoy. I enjoy that stuff. What Scar Dante taught me about O-line was those guys never leave the field. They need to be the toughest group on the team. No plays off for the offensive line, and you're expected to play every single snap. And I really took that to heart, because no one else really does that. It's different for quarterbacks who they can just hand the ball off, or Devin in the middle of the field where it's a run, and guys like Chris and Hyde just stuff a run, so you're in a little back pedal, and then you're running down a little bit. But the offensive line, run away, run to, pass game, all that stuff, there's really no plays off for that group. So I'm going to give you two answers with tight ends and the O-line, but
Hell yeah, bro.
yeah.
That's pretty good.
Why not? I looked up some of your old stats. Why not long snappers? You couldn't coach the long snappers?
For sure he could.
No, I'll coach the shit out of long snappers. I just try and answer the question. They said offense. Once we get to the kicking game, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a.
I was
whole
on
new
the
world.
sideline for the kicking game. Even in my later years, I was like, I'm not even doing
It's
PAT.
nice to be on the sideline.
I
for
used
the
to be
kicking
like,
game.
I'm not fucking doing PAT. So
A lot
I will
can go
boycott
wrong.
this snap.
A lot can go wrong. I got a field goal blocked against Duke and almost got us beat like homecoming weekend 06. It was ugly. I was the guy that's supposed to do this thing. Like, I still don't know how to do this thing. Like, what the fuck was I supposed to do?
Sacrifice your body.
How am I supposed to do that? Talk about the players, because you mentioned High, like you mentioned Devin, and like I played with for a year in New England some great players, and you spent a lot of time with them. Were there guys that you remember that you're like, that guy taught me something in particular that I still hang my hat on? And who was that guy? Or were there just multiple?
I would say, being a young guy, first guy that comes to mind would be a guy like Steve Gregory. Undrafted guy at Cuse. So he was somebody who kind of just took me under his wing when I was a coach. There were all those guys, when I was coming up through high school and in college and coming to practices, who kind of, took me under their wing. A lot of good players like Willie Mack and Brewski, Vrabel, Rodney, all those guys. And then there was guys like Jarvis Green, who I think he was like a 4th or 5th round pick out of LSU. He was like 6'3", 285, 290, played defensive end. Kind of what you did, like
Just
Ed
30 pounds
Rufford
heavier.
Yeah, well, I'm saying I was talking positionally, not body types,
Yeah.
but did some different stuff, and not a lot of people talk about Jarvis.
Yeah.
I had 3 sacks in the AFC Championship against Indy in my 03-04. But now Steve Gregory's probably the first guy that comes to mind. And then, once I got in the safety room, when I became the safety coach, coaching guys like Devin versus Pat Chung was just a big experience for me. Devin's the note taker, studious type of guy who, remembers everything you say. Pat never took notes, didn't overstudy film, let's say it that way. But he related everything to like women or, off the field activities.
Yes.
So it was totally 2 different spectrums. And that was kind of a learning experience for me, like how to coach the room with a guy like Devin and a guy like Pat.
Yeah.
So those guys taught me a lot. And then these past few years being with the linebackers, it's been a great group. The guys haven't really talked a lot about, not that, I listen to that stuff, but Juwan Bentley, Anthony Jennings, who had a great year for us this past year, Jelani Tavai,
he was a stud, dude.
Stud. And, no one talks about him.
Yeah.
Raekwon McMillan, who played last year, but tore his Achilles this past year. Guys like that who I love the linebacker room. It was a great room. So, you just got to keep learning. And now when I'm in college, it's almost like I got to flush that stuff and learn again.
Is there a position that's more or less in demand in college because of the scheme on defense, or just the way the college game is? And is there anything that really strikes you about the big differences schematically? I almost feel like people in college play more coverages. Is that true? Like B-Flow brought that thing from college this year where they were playing zone behind these exotic fronts, and I think they were like 6-man fronts or something, and they were playing like zone behind it, and people were saying you just don't see it in the pros, so it's totally new to people. But in college, you see all types of multiplicity. Do you feel like there's more multiplicity in college, and are there positional values that are different for a defensive coordinator?
I would say one thing I do take from my dad will be you never turn down a good player.
Right.
And so it's up to the coaches to, fit the scheme. We had a great recruiting meeting the other day, watching all these high school guys, which was another first for me along with FaceTimes. So, you see, especially in high school, you want to see these guys pop up.
Yeah.
They should be the best players on the field. So watching these guys, then you start to look at the skill sets, like, can they run? Are they explosive? Are they willing to tackle? Where do they play? And that's kind of the one question I've started to ask these guys is like, why are you a safety? Why are you a linebacker? Well, the coach told me to do it, or I told the coach I want to do it, or we already had a good linebacker, so I'm playing safety. And how they get to those positions in high school is I'm learning why. So I'll never turn down a good player, and it's my job to figure out how to get them on the field. But it's just kind of all new, and then the scheme's got to fit the players. I'm not gonna, come in here and like rubber stamp what we did in New England. That's not my job.
Yeah.
My job is to put these guys in the best position to win.
Cover 1, 9 techniques. How does that sound? Press coverage, lots of sacks. What do you think?
If you got pass rushers.
Well, I just committed. I just soft verbal committed. Do you guys give Toradol out?
Talk to the head coach.
Talk to the head coach.
Talk to the head coach.
All right, and my other question, if I am going to come to UW, or if we're going to watch a lot of UW games this year, which we will, we'll be screaming our faces off for Stevie B, but like, can we get on one of those posters? The pre-snap posters, are they still doing that in college? Can you put one of our faces on one of them? Do you think you get a soft verbal from you that we might see ourselves on TV?
Maybe.
I can see a third down green light call.
Yeah, green light, third down.
Oh, absolutely. Which would probably be a pressure, probably. But
yeah,
no, they actually.
No, Steve. Do you remember the time that I made sure we dropped 9?
Yes, versus the Jets.
This never been done before. I'm all about coverage.
Drop 9.
Yep.
Maddie, tried that against Mahomes for like 2 years.
Well, I did it against Ryan
Everybody
Fitzpatrick.
in the league.
I absolutely remember that, and I was like, I think we got the stop on the play.
We definitely got the stop. It was the right move.
No, yeah, exactly. And so I always just thought about, wonder what the offensive coaches who break down the games are thinking, like, is this a call or is Chris M.E.?
Chris is M.E.
No, it's got to be a call. It's got to be a call.
Oh yeah, it's Chris, such a smart football
Ahead
player.
of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a feel for it.
Yeah, I just had a feel. I thought it was good to drop 9 there. How about just like talking about cold weather, coaching in cold weather? I know it gets cold in Seattle, but you guys are joining the Big Ten. Do you think the guys are ready for that? What are you going to do? Like, if you walked in and you're talking to your coaches and they were like, what's the key to staying warm as a coach in freezing temps? What were in that Patriots dressing room where guys stuffing hot packs in their shirts and shit? Like, what are the secrets of the Pats cold weather protocol?
Well, the rule in New England was get your shit on and let's go.
Oh,
so whether that was the rule. If it's raining outside, no, we're not going to the bubble. Get your shit on and let's go.
Yeah.
So I mean, honestly, I felt like it's come down to like mental.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to do it or do you?
Yeah.
That starts with like running and tackling. Like, do you want to hit somebody in the cold or do you not? And that's kind of been my mindset where. I mean, now they got the jackets, they got the heaters, they got all that stuff out there. So get your shit on, let's go. And, let's not talk too much about it. My dad's other thing was always like, we're still playing whoever the opponent is. We're still playing Buffalo. We're still playing the Jets. We're still playing Miami. So wherever the game is, that's the opponent. and then the weather's a factor. Or, those referee crews that call every penalty. Like, we're not playing against the refs, but do business as business
Well,
is being done.
I know you got a question, but I got a question from my old coach. How come when we'd go play somewhere warm, you'd take us inside and turn it up 200 degrees? You guys would turn the heat up. But then, sometimes you take us outside when we didn't need to go outside. It felt like there was no rhyme or reason there. You just wanted us to be uncomfortable no matter what it was. It was more it.
I would say that that's fair to be making you guys feel uncomfortable.
Okay.
It's a very
Okay.
fair assessment. And then it's good. I'm learning this too because Jed's an offensive guy, and I've worked under a defensive guy. So
Practice
I
is
feel like there
different.
may have been some maybe peer pressure to, hey, can we work on stuff inside? We're not going to be playing in snow or cold, going to one of those places. So maybe some offensive influence from those guys. But, being with Jed, it's a little bit of flip the script. So we'll see how it goes. We haven't practiced yet, but how he wants to handle that is what we'll do.
They got a beautiful bubble. I hope it gets used.
You've had your own room for about a decade now, be it safeties or linebackers. Now you're a coordinator. Is that at all intimidating? Is it exciting? I mean, you're like going from salesman to now regional manager. Do you want all these other coaches reporting to you, or do you just want to go out there and coach a little ball?
I don't want to be like the micromanager that walks around and does other stuff. This is a new territory for me, but it starts from the top with the head coach, and then it trickles down to me as the defensive coordinator, and then it goes to the position coaches. And they were hired as position coaches, which, Vinny's coaching the safeties, Jay Rich, who I just met, he's coaching the corners, who's coaching the D line, and Bala from Alabama is coaching linebackers. So they were hired to coach those positions. I'm not going to overstep, what they do or walk into their meetings and fuck around. But we had that, yesterday, everybody went to their position rooms, and I'm sitting there like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that word, but I'm so like, I guess I'll go over here, and you sit in,
Hang out with the kickers.
Kind of, no. I'm all, we're defense. We're defense
good.
right now. So, you just kind of, you don't want to micromanage, but you also want to, try and teach and do that stuff. So, it's been a little bit different, but I'll figure out. I got the itch yesterday to coaching. I mean, getting rid of all the academic meetings and that type of stuff. So I'm ready to coach and figure out how I can put my stamp on some of these guys.
Last question along those lines. Are you going to be a motherfuck guys in the big room kind of guy? Or are you going to be like, what kind of communicator are you? Does it change from when you're position coach to a coordinator? Serious question, because like, I feel like guys do have to change a little bit but you don't want to change who you are. So like, what's your style of coaching individually?
That's a great question, and I would say, I don't know, because we haven't done any competitive stuff. I may
come
snap
out
and go off. I'm not a big, yelling type of guy. That's what my grandpa
I've never
said,
seen
like,
you yell.
Yeah, no. If you live next to the train tracks, eventually you don't hear the train go by. So I'm not the
He
big.
lives next to the train tracks.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, well, but you actually do. You always hear it.
He always hears
But-
it.
In my backyard.
He calls me
Everyone-
before it's going to come by my house.
Yeah, never let the facts fuck up a good aspirin.
Yeah.
So, that's the saying. It doesn't always apply, but I don't know. I'll see if I get, if the teapot blows up. But right now, it's just kind of, you got to teach and let these guys get to know me. I'll get to know them, and who knows.
I want to finish with some Pat stuff. Nothing negative, man, because I mean that year was enough. I know it's tough and the whole thing, and you are where you are now. But like, I want to talk about some good stuff. A couple legends, man. A couple Pat's legends to me. We'll start with your dad, obviously. My only question about him is, I'm not going to pry, but is he okay? Is he good?
Yeah, I think he's good.
Yeah.
Let the stuff roll off your back and move forward. He doesn't dwell unless we lost the game and he needs to get on some guys. But, eventually you got to turn the page. So, no, I mean, honestly, I wasn't too involved in any of that stuff. He did his thing. I did my thing. And that was kind of that. But, He's definitely pursuing some other stuff, whether it's TV or hopefully a regular on the green light or
Should come to
whatever it may be.
CBS.
I can get, I can bring it out of him. I got a couple smiles out of him over my tenure in New England. And I smiled ear to ear when I saw him on College Game Day. And I don't know if you felt the same way where you're like, that's who he is. Like, he's capable of that. Like, people were shocked. I'm like, yo, he's a funny guy, dude.
Yeah, no, I mean, dry humor.
Yes.
And I remember, so a couple of weeks before we played Pittsburgh, and Kirk Herbstreit called the game.
Oh, I know.
And so I was
lost a lot of money on that game, Steve. Sorry.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, good. That's what you get. That's what you get. We still had it in us. But he was like, yeah, your dad's going to come on game day in a couple of weeks for the Army-Navy game. And in my head, I'm like, I hope he just goes out and is himself and, like shows his personality a little bit, which he doesn't do most of the time, unless you're in the building.
Yes.
And then once you're in the building, you see his things he likes to say, which I'm not going to say any here, but you kind of get a sense of his humor and, putting on the helmet and stuff like that. Like, he does shit like that a lot, but no one ever sees it. And so I was happy that people at least saw a better side of him that not a lot of people see.
Are there hobbies, man? I think I've asked you this before, but if he is off for a year or two, like, or whatever happens, like if he's retired, what are the hobbies that you think he's going to partake in? Because that's the thing that I'm still having a hard time imagining.
Yeah, I would say it's his hobbies would still be to, let's say, critique football.
Okay.
So, he was excited when I came out here because he got to evaluate the scheme last year, evaluate the players last year. And I'm sure he'll come out here at some point to do some stuff. But the guy just loves football. So there's definitely that element. He does, obviously, in Nantucket, whether it's, swimming, paddleboarding, biking, all that type of stuff on the island. He does that stuff. Maybe have a couple cocktails. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
God, I'd love to go have a couple.
But is he going to be a good?
Me and Chris, coach,
be incredible. What? Hey, is he going to be a good house guest or a bad house guest? I'm sure you've never really had to host him.
No, he's a great house guest when he comes over. He hangs out with the kids. He usually asks for maybe a water, but he just, he walks in. He walks in like it's his house. So he'll pop open the fridge like, have you been to the store recently? I'm like, nah, I don't know. Which I apologize to my wife sometimes. He'll just like kind of show up like, hey, I'll be there in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I thought you said Saturday, not Friday, but come on.
Late
over.
rotation.
So, yeah, he makes it feel at home, and I appreciate that. Like when people walk into your house, at least from my house, me and my wife, we always just want to, come on in. If you want to open the fridge, I'd rather you get it yourself than me have to make it for you.
That's awesome. Well, tell him we were asking about him. I seriously, I always tell people, just a different guy than what people think he is, and I loved my year there. I mean, I've told him that before. But the two other legends I want to talk to you about, Jerod Mayo to me is a Pats legend because now, like, it's full circle. He's going to coach the Pats and the whole thing. I know you guys are boys, and we're the same draft class. So it's like three young guys here talking about, it's crazy to me that not only, like, you've gotten to where you've gotten, but also Jerod's an NFL head coach of, like, one of the most important franchises in history, and we're the same damn age, man. How's he doing with that? And, like, what can Pats fans expect from, like, head coach Jerod Mayo as a guy?
I would say, like you said, me and Jerod go way back. When he was on IR a couple of years, he was interested in what I was doing as a QC. Then he took a couple of years off, went to corporate. Then he came back in 2019. I was coaching the safeties that year, but the following year we started coaching linebackers together, and we just had like a really close relationship. In New England, which is much different than UW, where I got this view, we had cubicles, no offices. It is what it is. Right, wrong, or indifferent.
My office was next to Ninkovich. I'll take your cubicle any day.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we can get on Ninko all day. But so we kind of moved into the linebacker room and made it that like kind of the place where people can come do what they want to do and, get away from the building without leaving the building.
Yeah.
That was kind of a goal for us. And working together was almost like a study hall type group where your desks are right next to each other. So that was great. And, we became so close these last few years. And I'm super excited for Jerod. I think he's ready for this. I think that, it was his time. And I think he's a great motivator and he's a great teacher. So those are two good qualities for a head coach.
Dude, former players are winning, man. You saw that Baltimore is hiring like young dudes. I'm seeing guys younger than me getting hired to be coordinators and all types of stuff. And then Antonio Pierce getting the head job. So I think it's pretty cool. I think it's cool to see the young players. Like you've coached with a lot of guys your age that were playing and then watched them transition. I'm sure there's challenges, but there's something to being a young coach.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can once you start getting a little bit past those playing ages, once you start having kids, once you start having a family and stuff like that and get married, then, it changes a little bit and kind of who you can relate to in the office field aspect changes. But it's still, at the end of the day, when you're in the building, like, you want that brotherhood, you want that camaraderie, and he definitely brings that to that organization.
Final question, final dude I wanted to talk about, our guy, Matthew Slater, one of my favorite human beings, like, period, football or otherwise. Yep. And, you watched him all this past year. He's not a guy that's going to go out and say, hey, I need a farewell tour. It was his last year. Could you tell how hard was that on him and, like a lasting impression of who he was as a guy in that locker room?
Yeah, I mean, you can't say enough good things about him. On the field, off the field, training, spending a ton of time in the building, mentoring young players, bringing along older players who may be, going through something. I mean, you can't say enough about Slate and, those sweatshirts that we all wore for the last game of the year.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure where they came from, honestly, but they were in everybody's locker, and it was just like, oh, here it is. I'm going to put it on. And we all wanted to support Slate and everything he's done. He left an impact on everybody in some way, shape, or form, and I always appreciate him and where he came from and where he got to, and the guy was elite.
Elite, bro. And, we're going to let you go, but I also wanted to tell you I lost a lot of money on that last game of the year, too.
The Jets game?
Yes.
Well, that one,
the defense did what they could.
Yeah, I mean...
Hey, bro, we love you, man. We're so psyched for you. I can't wait to be a UW fan. I got one of my buddies at Penn State. I hope they don't have to play you guys because then it's going to be all weird.
November 9th.
No, they don't.
Washington at Penn State.
No!
Oh, wow.
When's Oregon, Washington? I'm a Duck.
November 30th.
Gotta look out for that wide receiver coach, Marcus Hagens, man. He's he's a stud. You gotta watch
figure
out
it
for
out.
Yeah.
We go back to New Brunswick, we'll play Rutgers, and I can't wait.
Ooh,
I mean,
nice.
It's not personal at all, but it's about winning at the end of the day. So we're all out there to win, and I don't care if I went there or not. I mean, this is where I am. I take a ton of pride in being out here. I don't care that I've been out here once in my life before, coming out for the interview process. Like, people need to take some pride in where they are and what they do. And I'm ready to do that. And I'm excited. I'm learning a lot about everything out here. And, great network at UW with Seattle being right over there, which some schools don't have, being far from cities and stuff like that. But, whether it's alumni or just general, successful businesses, like, I think that's a good tool to talk to these kids about. It's like, when you go certain places, there's just not a lot around.
Yeah.
But here, you don't have to, like at Rutgers, you don't have to go up and work to, get an apartment or travel 45-hour a day.
Get a nice meal or something.
I'll recruit Rutgers like right now.
Yeah, look at you trying to steamroll your alma mater, dude.
Yeah, I don't care, but I'm here to win. if I go back to Rutgers, then I'll flip it however I need to flip it.
I
But
cannot wait
honestly,
to send this to Devin and Duran and the other 78 players that you guys recruited to play for the
yeah,
Patriots.
Logan. I mean, all those guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to get it going around here, and I'm learning stuff every single day. Whether it's the acronyms, which I don't know many of
PRP.
those yet, but yeah, PRP.
Doing a PRP,
I mean,
coach.
learned that yesterday.
Hey, fuck off, coach. We're doing
like-
a PRP.
PRP sounds
Yeah, I
like a
know.
Scarnecchia post-practice optional
Yeah,
offensive
exactly.
line
Exactly.
Oh yeah, yeah.
deal.
We used to say that non-optional, mandatory optional.
Yeah.
Um,
Optional.
but yeah, no, it's cool, and ready to get to work and coach ball and get all this other stuff out, get my HR training out of the way, and let's get it going.
Don't let
Win some
HR
games.
make you cut that hair, man. You're one of the best mullet coaches in the whole game already, man. By the season's end, you might overtake Gundy. So we're pulling
Yeah.
for you, bro.
Off the mullet string right now, but you never know with me, honestly.
You never
Tomorrow
know.
I could wake up and fucking take it.
You can still roll that out at any given moment. Hey, Steve Belichick, joining the Greenlight Pod. Appreciate you giving us the time, and go UW, man.
Thanks,
go
Coach.
Huskies.
Hey, go UW, and let's get it going.
All right, brother.
See you, man.